Hey Kiddaroonies. The second episode of Murder Drones came out recently, so I might as well make a video reviewing it, because you guys just loved the last video I made about Murder Drones. Don't worry, my feelings on this episode are a lot more positive. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's excellent or anything, but it does feel a lot more creative and less irritating than the pilot. And it does show that Liam Vickers and Glitch Productions were able to improve a lot between the pilot and episode 2. Side note, check it out, I stopped being a lazy bum and actually radically redesigned my character. Say goodbye to poorly shaded, inconsistent line quality McGee. Don't say I don't do anything for y'all. Okay, back to the video. But what exactly makes me like this episode more? Well... So the humor was easily the worst part of the pilot in my opinion. It was self-aware in the worst way possible. They kept pointing out all the tropes and story elements they used without actually playing around with them. Sometimes these will use self-awareness to tell the story rather than telling it themselves, like in this example.
Hope you're having important character growth or something though!
Of course, when I said they never play around with stuff, I wasn't being 100% truthful. Near the beginning, Uzi says,
"It's like we're waiting for an inciting incident!"
Which I actually found especially annoying. Because the inciting incident is not really a trope, it's an important story element that is necessary for the story to progress smoothly. Skipping it and the entire first act will make your characters feel bland and make your story feel rushed. It's not a clever subversion, but Murder Drones acts like it is. The humor also messed up the tone, since the pilot expects you to take it seriously with its serious moments and grandiose story, but the jokes are goofy and don't expect you to take things seriously, so they felt really out of place and made the tone really inconsistent. I think this smug, self-aware humor really ruined the Murder Drones pilot for me. In my review I had a bunch of other complaints, but honestly, if the humor didn't annoy me so much, I probably wouldn't have cared enough to even make that review in the first place. So I was really glad that episode 2 mostly avoided this humor. Yeah, there's still a bit of self-awareness, but it's definitely less obnoxious. I mean, I still don't find this episode funny, I don't think I laughed a single time, but at least it didn't fill me with rage. As for the visuals, they're definitely a lot more engaging. Of course, they're objectively worse on a technical level. The modeling is a lot less detailed and even a bit uncanny, but I'm willing to overlook that. I still think the characters, especially the Murder Drones, are well designed. Their distinct and memorable and slightly cheaper looking textures aren't going to change that. The modeling isn't the only technical issue though, the animations look a lot more awkward. Sometimes the movements feel incredibly weightless and distracting because of how over-animated they are. But once again, it's not a big deal. I think this episode makes up for these things with some genuinely phenomenal action sequences. The antagonist, Absolute Solver AI, is incredibly well designed and really well animated. I don't think it's a great antagonist, some of its dialogue is really cheesy.
Pranked, idiot. You big stupid.
Shut up.
But it has such a cool concept of luring in worker drones with holograms and it's just so intimidating visually. The scene where it was fully revealed for the first time was super gripping. I mean, yeah, In could have just shot the arm, but then we wouldn't have gotten that incredible reveal. My favorite scene was probably the crime scene one. By this point, we already know what Absolute Solver is capable of, so seeing pretty much everything in the room slowly disappear and realizing what's about to happen was super tense. Of course, it doesn't make much sense if you really think about it. Why would the AI go through this much effort just to kill one officer? And how did the officer not realize the mug she was holding was a hologram? Oh well, who cares, the scene is cool and that's all that matters. I also think this episode fixes the main issue I had with the pilot's visuals. In the pilot, scenes are often just drenched in one color with almost no contrast. This made the viewing experience a bit tiresome. However, in this episode there's much more variety in colors, which makes it look much better. Writing-wise, it's alright. Some of the characters are a lot less obnoxious and more likable. By the end of the episode, Uzi feels like an actual character rather than just an angsty teen. Her character development does feel a bit rushed, but it's still a step in the right direction. And definitely feels less fake nice and annoying than he was in the pilot. In fact, he had a scene that I thought was pretty endearing.
Quit complicating my murder plan.
I still don't like his dialogue, but he talks a lot less this time, so I didn't hate him nearly as much as I did in the pilot. He still has his issues though. I think it's really dumb how he gets off completely scot-free for the actual genocide he commits. Oh, but Kevin, don't you know it's a joke? It's a funny moment, Kevin. Also, N reacts in a cute way, so your argument is invalid. Disliked and reported. Yeah, well, call me crazy, but in my opinion, I don't think it matters how adorable or wholesome he is. He should still receive consequences for his actions. Wouldn't it be really cool if a major plot point was him proving to the worker drones who are still scared of him that he's changed, while simultaneously grappling with the severity of his actions? The fact that the writers don't even seem to consider that possibility and instead just resolve the situation almost immediately feels kinda lazy to me. N's still my least favorite character in the show, but like I said, he's less annoying in this episode than in the pilot, which is an improvement nonetheless. This episode also utilizes more visual storytelling, which is a very welcome change. There's one scene where we see that the chains that are holding down V are actually broken, but she pretends that she's still chained up and stays with the group. I'm not too sure why V would want to stay with these two, but still interesting characterization nonetheless. The point is, the characters got better, the writing got better, the visuals got better, and the humor was less bad. So yeah, all in all, it's a marginal improvement from the pilot on almost all fronts. It's not perfect, but it's serviceable and once again much better than the pilot. I hope the series will continue to improve as it progresses. I'll give this episode a 6 out of 10. I guess since this is a 6 out of 10 and the pilot is a 3 out of 10, I'll give the series so far a 4 or 5. You know what? I'm feeling generous. I'll give it a 5 out of 10 overall. Real quick, I'm not going to review the next episode for a few different reasons. One reason is I have a bunch of other videos I want to make, and since it already takes me a really long time to release a video, making a review whenever an episode comes out, which is every 2 to 3 months, would really mess up my schedule. Another reason is simply because I don't want to feel like I'm milking murder drones. But I'll tell you what, when the finale comes out, I'll make a review of the entire series and give my thoughts on all the episodes. But yeah, please don't expect any Murder Drones content from me for a long time. Well, that's it. Goodbye.